Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to council. This is the 35th meeting of the 145th Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. Are there any disclosures of interest from any of the members? I know you're deeply interested, but are there any disclosures of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to minutes.
I have motion that the minutes of the meetings held on November the 10th, 2025 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No presentations this evening. Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with following business. First committee is Strategic Direction and Development. First item relates to proposed Planning Act changes under Bill 60. I have a motion that report PD 6125 relating to proposed Planning Act changes under Bill 60, Fighting Delays, Building Faster Act 2025 be received for information. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Worship. I was just wondering if staff has received any new information since this report was done, and if they have any idea how it will affect the rail lands area. Thank you.
Thank you for yourself, your worship, to Councillor Gibson. We have not received any additional information. It's still within the commenting period on the environmental registry. With respect to any potential impacts that it could have on the railway lands, that would be kind of born out of any potential changes that do come through this process. Because as of right now, they are looking at potential changes to the official plan process and what can and can't be part of that process. So secondary plans could be impacted, but at this point, it's all speculation.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to proposed amendments to Site Plan Control Bylaw and the Site Plan Control Committee Operation and Rules of Procedure Bylaw. I have a motion that report PD 6025 relating to the proposed amendments to the Site Plan Control Bylaw and the Site Plan Control Committee Operation and Rules of Procedure Bylaw be received for information. And further, Council authorize the preparation of a new Site Plan Control Bylaw and new Site Plan Control Committee Operation and Rules of Procedure Bylaw as outlined in report PD 6025. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Are there any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Clark.
I'd just like to hear maybe some comments from staff on what they think of the changes.
Mr. Pompili.
Yeah, through your worship. The changes are actually very straightforward. They just are changes that reflect the current structure of the committee, which were needed just to help us with quorum, help us with with voting on some of the meetings, but also just kind of align some of the recent changes that have been made to the Planning Act and other planning legislation. So it's just really to align all our processes and streamline the process a little better. I don't know if anyone needed to add anything else, but yeah, very straightforward changes.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Climate Ready Plans and Processes Funding Agreement. I have a motion that reports CMO 5125 relating to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Climate Ready Plans and Processes Funding Agreement be received for information. And further, the Council authorized the Mayor and Clerk to execute the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund Agreement for the Climate Adaptation Analysis and Plan Project. And further, that a bylaw be prepared to authorize execution of the agreement and to take any necessary actions to implement the project in accordance with the terms of the funding agreement. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Baldwin-Sands, then Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Through you to the author of this report. I'm hoping for a little bit more information on the inventory that is going to be put forward and some of the programming, et cetera, that we have been doing in this community. as a member of the National Board for Climate Caucus, I have the opportunity to bring some of our very unique and very public educational programs forward, like the Wild Wisdom Program or Bee City initiatives, what we are doing at the Recycling Center. So I was hoping for some additional comments from the strategic manager to talk a little bit more about what is going to be in this project.
Do I have Taylor online? I do.
Hi, everybody. Through you, Mayor Preston, I don't know why my camera's not working there. Anyways, through you to Councillor Baldwin Sands. Yes, so this project will outline in terms of our properties, city buildings, city infrastructure, and those sorts of things. It will assess and provide an inventory of those assets and assess the climate risks and vulnerabilities related to those things, as well as provide an action plan and suggestions for implementation, as well as cost estimates for those properties and infrastructure assets. And we'll make sure that we're reporting frequently to council to make sure that you're up to date on that as we go through it. And I'll be able to provide more information as we move through this project, and we'll be working through this with a consultant that is an expert in these sorts of projects. So I will be able to provide more information at that time.
Councillor Baldwin Sands, follow up?
Just a follow-up comment, and thank you very much for those comments. And I would also like to say that this really helps to reflect to the public our commitment to cleaning up what we can for what we can do for our land, what we can do for our air, and what we can do for our water in this community. So I thank both Taylor and the Parks and Recreation Department for the innovations that they have been putting forward, especially to the environmental services for things like the solar panel projects on the that are going to be coming forward on the Joe, et cetera. Really gives the public a sense that we are committed to doing some things to affect some of the climate change issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
I just wonder if this is the first time that we've received funding from the new organization that we're a member of, and what other areas that we might be able to apply for funding.
City Manager, do you have more on that, or should we go to Ms. Mooney?
I would send that to Ms. Mooney on that one.
Okay.
I would just say since I've been with the city, this is the first time through our department that we've received FCM funding. I'm not sure if any other departments in the past have received this pot of funds, but I do believe this is the first time we've received actual green municipal funding through FCM. There might have been other avenues in the past, but that is the best to my knowledge.
Thank you. Councillor Baldwin Sands, I believe we have under the Green Fund from tree planting, but.
Yes, we do get a little bit through tree planting and with some of our partnerships that we have created, but I also really appreciate that Taylor has brought up about FCM. FCM is the administrator of the Green Municipal Fund. Right. So us being relatively new members to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, this type of funding that has not been seen by councils in the past, having this open the door for it is something that has been very, very, by me at least, graciously received. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to council, we have noted too that a lot of the subsequent grants that are available for FCM are contingent on having this climate mitigation strategy completed as a first step. So there's many subsequent grants that we will now be eligible for once we have this first one completed.
Super. Looking forward to it. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Well, climate control is a great thing for us, for sure. I mean, our municipality here this is a great thing for us to do. I just wonder do we work with other municipalities on this? Do we share information? I know you're talking the end of 26, but is there such a thing as an action plan that would develop when we get all the results and be able to continue to move forward with it? Or is it just a one-shot deal? And a few questions there anyway, so.
I'll take a stab at it first. This is for us to establish a climate adaptation analysis and plan. Once that's in place, as the city manager just mentioned, there are other steps different ways we can go. Some Councillor Baldwin Sands already spoke to, whether it's a bee city or the tree planting stuff we can do. But we discovered the municipality's green fund at our first visit to FCM 2 years ago, and said, hey, I remember we've got to plant a number of trees. Why aren't we part of that, right? And so, Jim, I think, Councillor Herbert, we will use this a lot. But as it was just said, this is the first step in the establishment of the plan. Once it's in place, then we'll be asked from time to time from FCM, did you want to participate in this one? Did you want to participate in this one? Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to the City of St. Thomas Telecommunication Tower Antenna Siting Protocol. I have a motion that report PD 5925 relating to the City of St. Thomas Telecommunication Tower Antenna Siting Protocol be received for information, and further that Council approve the City of St. Thomas Telecommunication Tower Antenna Siting Protocol attached as Appendix A to report PD 5925. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookey.
Thanks, Your Worship. Kevin, I just have a question, and if you can't answer it, no problem. We can talk about it later. But for instance, let's say we do a secondary plan for the railway lands, and there's that tower sitting there beside, the ballpark. Is there an opportunity for us to ask them to move that, or is that there? I know that there's a lease for a certain amount of time, I guess, but what would be the process if we said, we'd actually like you to move that, or is there a process, or we're stuck with that there? And if you can't answer that, no problem. We can talk about it later. Thanks for whoever can address that.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Wookey.
I'm looking for my expert. I've got a room full of experts over there.
The telecommunication protocol itself, it is a federal process. So ultimately what the protocol does is it allows us to kind of be part of that process and formalized process. There is a category or a process within that deals with like telecommunication towers that may be like no longer needed. With respect to asking them to move it, I don't necessarily think there's a process to deal with it necessarily through the protocol, because it's dealing with like additions to or that sort of thing. But it's definitely something that we could look into as part of that. If part of the secondary planning process, if there was something that we were hoping to do with those lands, we could definitely look into avenues to reach out to the federal government to see what can be done.
Councillor Wookey, follow up?
Yeah, thank you very much. Because, our plan, that could really, literally be right in the middle of something that we want to do, or it's uncomfortably close to something. Like there could be a lot of reasons why we might want to move that, or in the future, some other telecommunications as we grow. I would hope that there's a process for that, because I'm sure we're not the only people that would come across that issue. I'm sure someplace in the GTA where they thought they'd never need to grow, they're now want to build a 417 right through where a tower is.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
And just follow up to that, I think it is important to note that the city is only a commenting agency. It is a federal process. So ultimately, there are general guidelines that radio operators or providers would be able to follow through the federal government's process. This formalizes a city's process to interject ourselves into that process and make sure that they're aware of what our interests are from a planning perspective, from other city interests. So when they're establishing these things, hopefully those things don't impact things down the long term, down the road. So just to recognize and to acknowledge that this is still a federal process. We do not have the ability to dictate where these go. It's just we were able to provide comment to the government, and they have to receive it now through this process.
Yeah, and through your worship, just to add on that, like if things through your worship, just also to add to that, if things work out as we hope they do with the secondary plan and further development in this area, There will be other options to relocate a cell tower or add cell towers, even on top of buildings. That's always an option as well, too. So, but that will all sort of evolve as we have discussions and meetings, and we'll include some of our federal partners in those discussions as well.
Great. Further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members for this committee, I will now move into community engagement and services. Nothing on the agenda at this time unless there are any items from the members. Seeing none, Your Worship, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to generator feasibility study at the Joe Thornton Community Center and Memorial Arena. I have a motion that report PRF 3425 relating to the generator feasibility study at the Joe Thornton Community Center and Memorial Arena be received for information. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on it? If I can add, this is another great piece of conversation, since we do use the Joe Thornton Center as our emergency center from time to time for cooling or warming or other disaster work. So it is a great thing that we're talking about it. However, I'll also defer it, as we did last week, something else. We're about to do budget. This needs to go into the capital and be discussed at that conversation also. So now, did that get any further comments or anything? Councillor Clark?
I just wanted to clarify, is there an existing standby generator? It mentioned installing a new standby generator. And I'm just wondering if I've misread this, that I'm just wondering how long generators last.
It's my understanding there is not a generator at either of those arenas. Am I correct, Adrian? Or?
Yes, through you, Mayor Preston, and to Councillor Clark, there's not currently a generator in place. So it was mentioned at a previous emergency management exercise that there wasn't one there, and there needs to be one for the emergency shelter.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the report? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to New Year's Eve free transit service. I have a motion that report ES 5525 relating to New Year's Eve free transit service 2025 be received for information, and further the council approve free transit service on New Year's Eve from 5:45 p.m. on Wednesday, December 31st, 2025 to 2:45 a.m. on Thursday, January 1st, 2026. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to traffic and parking modifications in various locations. I have a motion that report ES 5325 relating to traffic and parking modifications be received for information, and further that council direct that a bylaw be prepared for its consideration to amend traffic and parking bylaw 45-89. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments on the various parking changes? Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. I just wonder when I read through this, it's saying staff recommends this, and do they actually do like a 3-month study, or is it just something that they feel they want to recommend? Like do you have information to back up your suggestions?
Who's taking it? All right, go.
Through your worship to Councillor Herbert, we did have staff go out and review the locations. Since most of these locations are just at intersections or right near the PXO, we went out and did a sightline review. So we just go out there and see if there was a car park that's close to an intersection, whether the driver going through would be able to see or not. So no, it was not a 3-month review, but we did go out and review all the sightlines.
Councillor Herbert.
Yeah, thank you. Follow up. Do you ever interact with the neighbors who live in those corners and get their opinions, or is it just strictly staff do the investigation?
Through your worship to Councillor Herbert, for these ones, staff do the investigation as it's right. A safety issue with sightlines and that. Any larger areas where we're doing parking on like a full side of a road or a larger portion, we do send a survey out or get feedback from the homeowners at that point.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe a couple of these did come in through customer service also. So that, I mean, sometimes we don't go looking for the comment, we get it ahead of time and then go look and see if they're correct or not. Further questions or comments? Councillor Taylor?
Yes, two items in, thank you, Your Worship, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Two items in the report are very, very important in my view, and that was adding the stop sign at Baldwin at Flora Street. That is where the CN train makes a bend through the road. It's a very dark road and it's easy to run into the side of that train. So that stop sign, well warranted finally, not finally, but finally. And also adding the 5 parking spaces there in the parking lot off Kane Street, that solves a problem that came up a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or whatever. So 5 converted to purchasable long-term parking spaces, a smart idea. Thank you.
And if I can add to that, Councillor Taylor, I've done my own official since we talked about it the last time, drive through as often as I can. I've yet to see a car parked in that area. So the fact that we can convert it to long-term parking is a great idea. It's not like we're taking away some 2-hour parking that's being otherwise used. Further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to a site alteration bylaw update. I have motion that report ES 5425 site alteration bylaw update be received for information, and further the council authorize the preparation of a new site alteration bylaw to prohibit and regulate the removal of topsoil, the placing or dumping of fill, and the altering of the grade of land within the city as outlined in report ES 5425. Moved by Councillor Kohler, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookie?
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm very pleased to see this. This is something that happens very often and causes a great deal of problems in the city. And this is one where over the years, I've been asked to come out to several places where they're having problems, and it doesn't take a genius to look and see that the neighbor 3 up put a garage over the drainage and didn't get a permit for it, or who knows what. They filled in and created some kind of garden that completely floods out their neighbors. So I'm pleased that this is happening. More importantly, I'm hoping that our communications folks can get a nice little, whether it's a beehive, whether it's a nice little communication on this to get out, because again, this causes a lot of grief for your neighbors when you're doing something that you think is, beautification or whatever. Its cascading effect is quite significant because contrary to some of the public's belief, there actually are drainage plans on subdivisions that work if you don't interfere with them. So I'll turn that over to the communications folks. Look forward to seeing that. Thank you.
Very kindly said. Excellent. Further questions or comments? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. I was going to yes and no, and I did speak to Kevin about this. And if he could just maybe expand under administrative changes, it sounds like the city engineer can approve, he can disapprove, he can amend, he can revoke, and he has that authority to do it. And the second part of the question was, can they appeal? That was the second. So if you don't mind, Kevin, if you just explain that a little bit better, thank you.
Mr. Gillibrand?
Through the mayor to Councillor Herbert, much of the authority within this bylaw is actually being formalized in the bylaws. Much of the process that typically occurs right now, but it's not actually documented. So this is just documenting that process. And yes, there is the authority to waive certain requirements, but it'll be a really tall task to get me to waive some of the requirements in this bylaw. I'm not looking to be doing some of those things. In terms of the appeal process, what we typically see is that people don't get their permits to alter the grade of land within their lot. So I don't really see that being much of an issue, more so than not getting the permit and then having to deal with the aftermath because they didn't do it. And that's where the enforcement provisions, I think we've strengthened in order to deal with those issues so that the violator is the one that has to pay for the remedial measures and not the taxpayer.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
That concludes the items for this committee that are on the agenda, unless there are any further items from the members. Seeing none, Your Worship, we'll now move to corporate governance and administration. First item relates to the 2026 council meeting schedule. Moved by Counselor Gibson, second by Counselor Clark.
Counselor Kohler has a question.
Thanks, Your Worship. For the month of January, I'm just wondering, could we adopt the same process that we do for July and August and just have the one Monday, the January the 12th? Because I know many of us quite often book our holidays around that fourth Monday, which I generally do every year. But I'm just wondering if the way the schedule works, there's probably not going to be too many items on either one of those agendas. So I'm wondering if we'd be okay if we just went with the January 12th meeting and not have the January 26th.
I would be okay with that, or at the call of the chair, should a meeting be needed. Is that what you're suggesting? Looking for nods or no way, we don't like Kohler and we're not going to let him go away. Yes, Councilor Baldwin says no way. No. Councilor Baldwin says.
I would like to hear from administration because sometimes when we've done that, when we've kicked it down for another meeting or two, it ended up being a very long meeting, either before, during, or after when we have deferred a meeting for that period of time. So is there anything that could be coming up that we would know would land on a January agenda?
Open comment from the clerk or the city manager.
Through your worship to council, budget is anticipated to be completed in December, so I don't anticipate that there will be budget into January. However, there may be a lot of tenders that need to close in that first couple of months. And I'm not sure if Lou, do you have any planning meetings scheduled in January? Those would be the only items that I would flag.
Yeah. Good.
Through you, yeah, we may. It's always hard to tell, but the things, we just received a couple of applications today, so depending on when we do the initial reporting, we might be in a position to have them in January. Hard to say with certainty.
Go ahead, Councilor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. I believe in January, we were also looking forward to the consultant's report in regards to the community center. So with that coming up potentially in January, I'm hoping that that again gets the attention it deserves.
Well, if I can just throw my 2 cents in, you're right. I often plan things in that fourth week of the month because we don't generally have a meeting there. And in this case, February 2nd comes 7 days after that meeting. I agree with you, Councilor Baldwin Sands. I don't like it when we pile everything into 1 or 2 meetings and they're longer meetings, but comparing ourselves to other municipalities right now, we have generally much shorter meetings than most of them do. So I could give some tolerance to Councilor Kohler's time, but I have Councilor Herbert, then back to Councilor Kohler.
Jeff, if you want to speak first, because you're going to comment on what was just spoken about.
Great. We'll go to Councilor Kohler.
Sure. What I was just going to suggest maybe is because sometimes in the summertime, what we do is have, I know here we're just saying the July 13th, but a lot of times we would have the Monday and the Tuesday booked if required. So maybe that we could do that and have January 12th and 13th listed. And if we did have these other plans coming forward, and the meetings were overwhelming, then we could have the 12th and the 13th. But
as I said, at the call of the chair, we can add a meeting should we need to. Councilor Herbert, your comment.
Thank you, Worship. I know it's been forever that we have meetings Monday nights. So I don't know if it's a place to discuss it tonight, a different night, like maybe a Wednesday. I don't know how that affects all the different departments when they're putting information together and agendas. But I don't know if there needs to be a change, but I know lots of holidays and weekends where Monday you're away. And anyway, I don't know if this is the place to discuss it. But.
Well, I think this one is just about that particular Monday, the 26th, more than it is our generally scheduling things. So do I have anybody adamantly saying we should for sure have the meeting on the 26th? Or can we cross it off and work around it should we have to? Councilor Woodkey?
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd just like to leave it at the call of the chair, and make it a game time decision or relatively speaking, because if something comes up, then we need to deal with it. And if something doesn't, then Councilor Kohler can not be interfered in the beach.
Or we could talk about him because he's not here. So let's go with that theory. Let's leave it the way it is. If it's, we'll look not to schedule, but if we end up having to, well, we'll still have quorum without you. And we'll do all the heavy lifting here in the snow.
Your worship, so with a friendly amendment from the mover and the seconder to remove January 26th? Are you fine with that?
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, with the amended calendar, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to 2026 emergency alternatives for council. I have a motion that report CC 1525 relating to the 2026 emergency alternatives for council be received for information, and further the council establish the following roster of council members to serve as an alternate to the mayor for the year 2026 in the event of a municipal emergency should the mayor not be available, starting with Councillor Taylor in January alphabetically until we get to November 1st to 24th, ending with Councillor Clark.
Madam Clerk, if I could interrupt before we do a mover and seconder, if there's a way to move this one till after council makes a decision on filling the seat left vacant by Councillor Peters, so that we could include that person also in the alternative list, I think we still have a whole month for us to finish that work. Would it be okay if we deferred this to after we've chosen?
That's perfectly fine with me, Your Worship.
Anybody else adamant about this list right now? No, we're okay, so we can defer. Great.
Next item relates to Community Recycling Center Public Liaison Committee. I have a motion that report ES 5225, Community Recycling Center Public Liaison Committee be received for information, and further the council authorize the disbandment of the Community Recycling Center Public Liaison Committee. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? I mean, I guess I should make a comment on the Recycling Center Public Liaison Committee. I could be incorrect, but in my time as mayor, that committee has never met. And it was formed probably 4 years before I joined municipal council. Does anybody know whether that committee has ever met? That's why we're looking at disbanding it. Talk about removing red tape. We can certainly, and we asked for a citizen to serve on it also, which is a bit embarrassing from time to time when we find someone who'll sit on a committee and then we never call a meeting of that committee. So look, if an emergency happens at the Community Recycling Center, I would hope that this council will deal with it by itself without that committee, if that's the case. Further questions or comments or input? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
That concludes the items under this committee, Your Worship, unless there are any items from the members. And seeing none, council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole, as recorded in the minutes of this date, be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No reports of committees this evening. We'll now move to petitions and communications. First item is a request for jumbo lighting on November the 26th, 2025 from Ronald McDonald House of Southwestern Ontario in support of families accessing pediatric care. I have a motion that the jumbo monument be lit in yellow on November the 26th, 2025 in recognition of families accessing pediatric care. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. When we light jumbo with different colors, do we communicate to the community why it's being done, or is it just said here, and that's it?
We often do this, of course, and of course, the hundreds of thousands of people who watch council every Monday night would know what that date was or why the color. But often now with our communication staff, we put out other notices of flag raisings and jumbo lighting. So yes.
So just to follow up, do you ever mention on Mayor's update why it's being lit, or is it?
Often.
Often, thank you.
See, more hundreds of thousands. Yes, you're right. Yeah. So did we have all in favor? Yes. Okay, we're good. Good. Next.
Next item is a request for jumbo lighting on November 30th in recognition of stomach cancer awareness. I have a motion that jumbo monument be lit in Periwinkle on November 30th, 2025 in recognition of stomach cancer awareness. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? For all of you at home, periwinkle is a shade of blue. Okay, so share it with your neighbors. Yes. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a copy of a letter addressed to the Prime Minister and the Premier from the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury, regarding the removal of HST from new homes purchased as primary residences. That's a resolution. Next item, also a copy of a letter addressed to Minister of Education from the Township of Brudenell, Lindock, and Raglan regarding the incorporation of mandatory water safety and survive to swim training into the Ontario Elementary School curriculum. That's also a resolution. Next item is notice from the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks and the Chief Conservation Executive that an information session will be held for municipalities on November the 18th, 2025, and that comments may be made until December the 22nd, 2025, regarding the proposed consolidation of Ontario conservation authorities into regional conservation authorities. That concludes the items, Your Worship, under petitions.
Okay.
Next, we move into unfinished business. As Council may recall, Council had requested further information from Southwestern Public Health regarding its request to appear to make a presentation to Council, and therefore a briefing note has been received from Southwestern Public Health relating to the intervention for health enhancement and living, the iHeal program.
If I can share at this point, Madam Clerk, because I've been kind of the perpetrator that started some of this, in trying to make it so that we're not having a number of delegations that come and stand here and tell us about items that truly don't have a municipal issue. And this may fall into that category. We've asked that the people requesting delegations send us a fairly detailed report about what it is they wanted to come and share with us. At the end of that report, Council can say, great, I think we've heard what we wanted to hear from them on that topic, or nope, I need more information. Please invite them to come and do a delegation. So this may be the first time this has happened. I'm going to suggest that we've got great information from the Public Health Board at this moment. I like what they're suggesting, but again, it's not so much a municipal issue as it is in their case, a health issue or even a policing issue. And so we'd like to say thank you for your great information. We'll share it with others also, but thank you. I'm not sure we need a delegation to come and say what's in the report. But I'm asking Council now, it's not just going to be the mayor's decision on some of these things. Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. Could we not have a deputation in regards to public information as a public educational piece, allowing them to provide the delegation to inform and educate the public on the programming that they are offering?
Well, I'm sure that's what their purpose is, but my thought is, as the mayor and in council, was to address things that are truly municipal, and we'll vote on them as things that we'll need to be a part of. And so I come up with a comment or someone else, but we do invite the hospital to come maybe once a year to tell us how they're working on that type of thing, which is an integral part of our community as to what their thoughts are going forward. I understand what you're saying, Councillor Baldwin Sands, and I'm not certain this council needs deputations from people who just want the publicity of doing the deputation. If it's not something we're going to take action on after they've made the deputation. I'll use the example. Last year, we had a mother and whose daughter was looking for more ice time from a figure skating point of view. So we allowed her to come and do the deputation. Now, the question that was being asked of this council truly was a municipal issue. It was the allocation of ice time. So we accepted the deputation. We did have a discussion afterwards. We made it work for all. We found a compromise. So I'm not suggesting we don't do delegations or deputations here, but I'd like it to be our business, not someone else's. Maybe a better way to put it. I don't know if I answered your question. Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Well, sitting on the board with Councillor Taylor here, that's a lot of information that Cynthia sent us. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what it is, but I don't have a problem just to follow up with her if she feels that, is this enough information for the public and for the council to know? Because I agree with what you say. If we already know what they're going to say and we have it, do we really need to spend more time on it? But I would be happy to follow up with, I have to speak to Cynthia anyway next week. So if it's not a problem, I could ask her how she feels. Is she happy with this? Does she really need a deputation?
We've asked that question and we've made it clearer that when you send us the information, please still ask us for a deputation if you want one. And it's then up to council to say, we need more information on the topic, and we would do it. But clearly, even in the information that's been sent to us, it was so that we could have more public consultation about it. So the word would get out there better. Will certainly help from our communications people say this about public health, but I'm sure they have a whole communication group too that also suggests what they do for a living too. So that's my question. I'm happy to be overruled if that's the case. Councillor Clark?
I concur with your logic in that we are trying to do municipal business and so that the delegations that come before us are either a yearly report from public health where they're letting us know how the year's gone, or a bi-yearly thing, or it's the hospital reporting back. But I mean, we could have something every month from the number of organizations that deal with the city, because there's all kinds of good things happening in the city. But I don't think it's our role to, in a meeting, use the meeting portion of it for delegations for those kind of public services. I think there's things like the mayor's update. There's our communications. We have a website. We put out different social media events. So we could certainly help Southwest Public Health with topics like this, but not doing it in a formal process through the meeting.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Councillor Wookie and then Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thanks, Your Worship. Perhaps my friends in social services can help me with this one tonight. And I don't want to put them on spot too much, but I'm not afraid to a little bit because they're awesome. In terms of intimate partner violence, I'm thinking about victim services, Elgin, and those kind of things. Like, who would be the people that are currently, if you can answer this, helping out in this regard currently? That would, I think, be a helpful question to get an answer from. Just apart from the whole question of the health unit coming to speak to us, but what goes on with that? Thank you very much.
Ms. Sheridan? It was great to have you come up.
Putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Wookie. There are a number of agencies in the community. We would look to, like Second Stage Housing would be one, Violence Against Women, Victim Services. So all of those would help us in the community when we're talking about intimate partner violence. Also, the YWCA does a lot of work in our community. So there, it's kind of, at Social Services, we meet with a lot of women and men who are in intimate partner violence. So it's kind of all across the community. I don't know.
Go ahead, Councillor Wiki.
Thank you. So if somebody's experiencing intimate partner violence, and let's say they don't feel comfortable going to the police for an official report, this is like a public interest for me, but for everybody, like, who would be the first reach out person for them, the easiest reach out person for someone who's experiencing that situation, but doesn't want to go directly through police services, with all due respect to police services? Thank you.
I would say through Violence Against Women, who has renamed themselves. It's
Yes.
Valora Place. Couldn't remember the name, but Valora Place would probably be the first spot that you would call, and you would get information there, and you would talk about a plan, a safety plan, and if it was something that needed to be dealt with immediately, then we would look at this shelter, the Violence Against Women shelter, Valora Place shelter, and talk about options with the police.
Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. I thank Councillor Wookie. He was bringing up what I was going to bring up, the value of having this come to council so that our partners, our community organizations all know, and we as councillors all know the mechanisms that are put in place, the support systems that are out there that people can access. And that's why I think it's an absolute essential thing that Southwest Public Health come to council for this deputation so that we can collectively know and share that information throughout all of our community partners and through our social service agencies. Thank you.
Yep. Could easily do that. We could have 10 deputations a council meeting, and we used to have many. I would try to speed the process a little bit. I hope you'll see that in the coming year, we're going to spend a little bit more time looking at our own strategic plan, but also having you as members who sit on committees of other groups report back to us what those groups are doing. And that's another way, in this case, public health would get their message back to council is through the committee members that sit on it. So I'm assuming that I'm looking at the two members that sit on public health right now, that you've been well schooled in what this report would have said. And then we can do it that way too. As I said, I'm not trying to force this on anyone, but I'm really looking at not having deputations come here that aren't ours. That was the point. So I'm happy to have, I'm taking the input tonight so that we, as they come to the clerk and to us, that we're asking them when they send them a request to the clerk to do a deputation at council, at St. Thomas City Council, that we ask them, could you give us a fairly detailed letter of what it is you want to share with us? If that is enough information, we'll stop at that point. If it needs to be more, we'll ask for more information, or we'll ask you to come to do a deputation. I'd like to leave that structure in place, but it's truly, I'm only one vote on this council, so I'm happy to have it changed. I'm not seeing a great deal of let's have more deputations. It's let's gather the information as it comes to us and let's share it through our communications and their communications also. I'll leave it at that because I've sat on that board too, and they're doing some great things at public health, and they're doing some real good reach out. So further comments on the deputation. I guess I could ask for a vote. Should we have a deputation? But I'm seeing pretty considerable, but I'll ask that. So in the report, there's a request for a deputation beyond this information that they've shared with us. Okay, so.
Your worship, if I could just get a mover and a seconder to put that motion on the floor.
Sure.
Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
So a yes to this would mean we'll invite them for a deputation. All those in favor? Any opposed? We'll thank them for their information.
Your worship, will now move to new business of council. Are there any items from the members?
Oh, yeah. Councillor Baldwin-Sands, you want to go first?
Thank you. And then I'll ask you for the second, if I may.
Yeah.
I just would like to remind people at home that the Health Recruitment Scholarship is open until this Friday, November the 21st. It's normally our first point of contact for local residents across Elgin County that are entering medical school. It's for $1,000 a year for up to the 5 years of medical school time. That the applications are available in the clerk's office. You can drop by the clerk's office or you can visit online. And hopefully we'll be able to see some applications coming in for our Home for the Holidays event coming up in December. Thank you.
If I could just add a bit to that Home for the Holidays event, as medical students who are out learning at different universities come home for the holidays, we try to gather them together and convince them that St. Thomas and Elgin will be a great place for them to practice in the future. It's really working, folks. If you look at the great work the physician recruitment team has done this year and the number of new docs and nurse practitioners that are arriving in our community, we just need as many as we can possibly have. So I thank you, Councillor Baldwin-Sands, for you chairing that committee and having some of these really good ideas. And we've been talking about this scholarship one for a long time now, and it ends Friday. So if you're thinking about putting in an application or you know someone who should, please make sure that that happens by Friday. Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. Well, we go from the pumpkin crawl where there's thousands of people to our lighting of the lights where there's another 1,000 people. And we handed out a lot of chocolate milk, and I say we, Councillor Gisborne, Councillor Clark. I stood beside Councillor Clark. His table was very clear and dry. Mine was a little wet with chocolate.
You spill hot chocolate.
Spilled a bit. Councillor Wookie, Councillor Baldwin-Sands handed out cookies. What a great night. I mean, our city's alive and well when we see thousands of people come and do that. And now, of course, I jumped the gun last week. This upcoming Saturday is the Santa Claus Parade.
Was there something happening this week?
Yeah. So it'll be another great turnout. So 3 weekends in a row, our city is alive and well. So anyway, just wanted to thank everybody who took part in that. So thank you. And the organizers from the City Hall staff.
Looking forward to a Peanuts Christmas this Saturday. I've got my Charlie Brown sweater. Councillor Taylor?
Yes, I was going to bring that up as well, because as an Optimus Club member, the parade committee for 2026 will be meeting the first week of January. We have many meetings throughout the year, and we're working on next year's. But the parade this year is phenomenal. It's 77 entries. We have the Burlington Teen Tour Band coming again this year, world-class band that goes all over the world, and not to go beyond, but the St. Thomas Police Pipe and Drum Band is also there, sponsored by the St. Thomas Downtown Development Board will be the sponsor for the Burlington Teen Tour Band. And to comment on Councillor Herbert's, the Light Up Talbot event was actually a Downtown Development Board committee that put that together. So I want to give them credit for that as the Optimus for the parade coming up this weekend. So it starts at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. And Rogers TV, setting up across the street, will broadcast that through the month of December for anybody that wants to watch it afterwards.
Councillor Herbert further, Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Yeah, just a question for Councillor Taylor. Are they having, you can bring food and drop it off? Is that still in effect somewhere? Thank you.
Good idea.
Very good comment. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yes, we collect a ton, and literally and tons of food at the parade. So the St. Thomas Police collect that food, and it's distributed then through Christmas carry and leftovers, if you want to call it leftovers, but it's also distributed out through the food banks in our area as well, not just St. Thomas. So yes, bring your non-perishable food items to the beginning of the parade, anywhere along the parade. The St. Thomas Fire Department will be picking that up. That's a phenomenal addition to the parade. They've done it for years and years and years. So thank you very much for that reminder, Councillor Herbert.
Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. I'm hoping that you remind everyone about the winter parking starts December 1st. Would you like to take that, sir?
Yes, we'll have a meeting the night of December 1st, but let's remind you now that I've been watching other municipalities around us, and they're all still back in the 1st of November, 15th of November, and we have been watching what snowfall happens, and we've said December 1st for our first overnight parking bylaw. Until March 15th, where we changed that last year to December 1st. We're looking still at, are we on the right dates? So far, I think we're doing pretty well. But thank you for reminding people it's not November 15th anymore. It is December 1st. Let me share a couple more. First of all, the part of the Light Up Talbot, I want to thank, as Councillor Taylor did, a great group from the Downtown Development Board. We've been spending some Saturday afternoons at Horton Market fixing the snowflakes so that they could get up on time for Light Up Talbot. And it's a great when you get a whole group of people don't know the first thing about lights or electricity, being taught how to put new lights in or new cords on the snowflake. So I thank you to Graydon and the team at the Downtown Development Board for the great work on the snowflakes, because I did notice that many were up and on as I went through town yesterday or the day before. We talked about the parade, right? And with that, you talked about the collection of food for the food bank. But another great thing happened and started today on November 17th, the start of Smile Cookies. And I gave each of the council one, but most of them have already eaten their Smile Cookie. But the Tim Hortons chain does these twice a year now, and this is the holiday edition of the Smile Cookie, and the proceeds from them go to a local charity, in this case, our own food bank. So if you've got friends or people who don't like to bake, go ahead and buy them a Smile Cookie and enjoy your friends and have a smile with them, and let some of this great funds go to help support our great food bank too. So starting tomorrow morning, hit your Tim Hortons and get your coffee, but by all means, get your Smile Cookie to go with it so that we can help feed more people over the holiday season also. I think that's all I've got. Anybody else have any other new business? Seeing none, moving on.
No public notice or notices of motion this evening. There is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with a matter of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, a proposed or pending acquisition of land, and 2 personal matters about identifiable individuals. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Before I call the question, I'll remind those watching at home and those in our gallery with us tonight, we're about to go into closed session. When we come out of closed session, we'll go into open session simply to pass the bylaws that were passed tonight, and also anything that we pass in closed session, and then adjourn for the evening. So thank you all for joining us tonight, and we'll see you on December 1st to talk all about budget. On the closed session, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Your Worship, at this time, I have a motion that council rise from closed session. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. We're now in open session, or we have to wait to turn some things on?
Your Worship, the next item under open session is bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 17th day of November, 2025.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Bylaw is carried. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to assume certain lands as part of the public highway known as South Edgeware Road. This is part 6 on Plan 11R 2183 at 34 South Edgeware Road.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Bylaw is carried. Next bylaw, please.
Third bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and 2806208 Ontario Inc. This relates to a site plan file for the property at 730 Talbot Street for a ground sign addition.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? No, not opposed, none opposed. Motion's carried. Next bylaw, please.
Fourth bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, a non-for-profit corporation, acting as trustee of the Green Municipal Fund.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next bylaw, please.
Fifth and final bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 45-89, being a bylaw to revise and consolidate certain bylaws regarding traffic and the parking of motor vehicles. This includes no stopping near Pear Tree Avenue, no parking on Balaclava, Aldborough, Chant, David, Glanworth, yield and stop signs at Flora and Baldwin Streets, and municipal parking lots being Upper St. Catherine Street.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. A report is successful. Rise to report successful. Approval of 5 bylaws. And let's see what it was.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 5 bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
That concludes the items under open session. At this time, I have a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.